Okay, so number 10 here. An educator wants to determine how effective tutoring is in raising students' grades in her class. So she offers free tutoring for those who want it. Then she compares final exam grades for the group that took advantage of the tutoring and the group that did not. Suppose the group participating in the tutoring received higher grades on the exam. Does this show that the tutoring worked? Not explain why not. What do you guys think?
No.
No?
Because like the students that would like offer up, first off, like you're offering something voluntarily. So that kind of skews because certain people that will accept doing the tutoring might be better students than people that would normally not accept that.
Right. Yeah. That's true, isn't it? Everybody see the truth of what that was Christopher, right? Christopher is saying there. Right? The people that, because did you notice it is voluntary up here? And that's very important. Where it was, she offers free tutoring. Offers free tutoring. So the people that choose it, yeah, so that's right. It is going to be this one right here. Because, and this is an observation. Now, why am I saying this is an observational study?
It's an experiment.
Or is it an experiment? Yeah, which one is it? Remember, we just studied, we just spent time. Let's review those real quick. What's an observational study again, and what's an experiment, and which one is this? So first off, what's an observational study?
They're not affecting what is happening.
Only observing.
Yeah, you only observe, meaning you don't mess with anything. You only observe. You do not affect things. Whereas an experiment, you affect them directly. And let me, and really also let me say you have a, well, let's leave it at that for now. Okay. So now you might, I know this could be a little confusing. You might say, well, she gave him tutoring. That affected them. Well, no, not really, because she gave them a choice. So they really affected themselves. You see the deal? They chose, and that's the crucial issue. So that is the crucial issue on this question. This is observational because she didn't really affect them. She just gave them a choice. They chose whether to go to tutoring or not. They affected themselves. So because this was observational, it does not show that the tutoring worked. It could be that more motivated students attended the tutoring, and that was what caused the higher grades. You see the problem? I don't want this, I want this to really make sense for you. That's what's important. You know what? This class is going to end in a few weeks and you're going to move on with your life. But I want this to do you some good. Not just, I want you to get a good grade too. But, when you get old like me someday, you won't care about your grades. You'll care about whether you really learn something, what you really understand about life. And so I'm hoping, let's let this sink in deep and really make sense. Do you see how this is not, and this is a very important issue in the idea of data and causation. Like, how do we know when a study done really does show that something works or not? Because there's all kinds of false claims out there. There's tons of them. People that really don't understand statistics, and they're doing studies and making claims that are baloney. And you can learn the difference in this class. We're talking about it right now. So you might read a study like this and say, well, this proves. And somebody might say, look, this proves the tutoring worked, right? The people that did tutoring did better. No, this does not prove tutoring works, because the people that chose tutoring could very well, probably were, most of them, just better students. They're just more highly committed. Now, to make it clear, I know you might be thinking, well, then how do you prove anything is right? Here's how you do it. Let me show you. In case you're wanting to ask that, let me say, great question. here's how you would actually do it. Prove tutoring works. Here's what you would have to actually do. You've got to do an experiment. And what is that? You've got to randomly break, got to have that random part, randomly break the class into two groups. Two groups. Group number one must, they have no choice. They must go to tutoring. These are random, right? You didn't let them choose. Random. No choice. Because if you let them choose, the better students are going to choose tutoring. And that's going to wreck your ability to find out if tutoring really works. Group number two must not go to tutoring. Seems funny as a teacher. No, do not go to tutoring. No more math help for you. Must not go to tutoring. Then, if group one does better, in the end, it does prove. It proves tutoring works. That's how you do it. Why? Why would that prove it? Because of the random up here and the no choice, because the good and bad, the stronger and weaker students, the good and bad students are randomly mixed, or randomly mixed in both groups. Everybody see that? Do you see that difference? Do you see how important that difference is? This, by the way, is, write it a different color here. This, by the way, is an experiment. Well, maybe I shouldn't write all over the top of it like that. It's not the best. This is an experiment. Because we did something. We randomly broke them into two groups and we gave group one tutoring, group two, we gave nothing. Whereas up here, this was just observational. When you give them the free choice to do whatever they want, you're just an observer. You're just watching what they choose to do. That's not an experiment. And I don't want that just to be some buzzword for you. You can see why that matters, huh? Because if you give them their free choice, the better students are going to go to tutoring. And then when the tutoring group does better, who knows if it was tutoring? Tutoring could have been lousy. They were just better students, maybe. Who knows? You'll never know. That design, observational studies are never going to be able to prove causation. Do you see that? That's the crucial issue. Let me write that down. And so all these concepts are important. We'll talk about these again later in the class, but all these really matter. Well, we'll talk about these later, like next week. Observational studies cannot show causation. Oops. Only an experiment can show causation. You see that? That's why it matters so much, whether something's an observational study or an experiment, because in real life, we want to figure out, does tutoring work? Or more importantly, does this new vaccine work? right now, right? It's very important in these COVID days. Does this vaccine work? Does this medical treatment work? Does this cancer treatment work? Does this tutoring work? How do you figure out things like that? You must do an experiment. You cannot just observe. That's not valid. Even with the right now the FDA, Federal Drug Administration, is testing out the COVID vaccines, right? And none of them are yet completely approved because it takes a long time because you got to do all these kind of tests. And so part of what they got to do is they got to set up experiments where they give some people the vaccine, some people without the vaccine, and on and on it goes. You can't just observe, because if you observe people's free choices, every other things can get involved. Like in this case, better students choose tutoring. So the groups are no longer pure. Whereas if you do an experiment and you randomly break into two groups, then you can prove the tutoring works because the good and bad students are randomly mixed between the groups.
Wait, so you're saying like basically to never trust like observational studies, like they're not reliable like ever?
Right. Observations, well, they cannot prove causation. They cannot prove that something's really causing it. Yeah. They can have some value, but they cannot determine causation. That's the crucial issue. They cannot determine causation. For causation, you must do an experiment. And what's an experiment? You randomly break into two groups, or it could be three groups or four groups, but at least two groups. One group gets the thing, whatever it is, the tutoring, the drug, the whatever, and the vaccine, and the other group doesn't. And then you see if there's a different result. And if there's a difference, that proves it, because everything else is the same about the groups. Why? Because you randomly pick them, right? Everything else is the same about the groups because you randomly, that's why random is so darn important in an experiment and in getting to the truth. You've got to randomly break people into two groups. You can't give them a choice. Anytime you give human beings a choice, that's gonna make the groups different for other reasons, which is gonna wreck your study. You cannot give them a choice. No choice. You've got to randomly break them into two groups. That way, all the different characteristics, good students, bad students, healthy people, unhealthy people, young people, old people, etc. Whatever it is you're trying to test, everything's mixed up, which is perfect. Therefore, it's nothing else that's going to make a difference except one group gets the drug, the other doesn't. So if they come out different, the drug made the difference because everything else is mixed around. Does that make, whereas suppose you tried to test a new vaccine for COVID and you just gave people their choice. Well, people are going to choose the vaccine probably who are more at risk, like maybe some older folks are going to choose the vaccine, and then they take it and maybe they don't do as well just because they were older and you go, oh, the vaccine's not working. Well, no, it's just the older people chose the vaccine group. See, that's just going to wreck it. You see my point? No choice. You cannot give people a choice. If you want to get to the truth about causation, you've got to randomly break them into two groups. No choice. And then all the other characteristics are randomly distributed. And you can test what you're trying to test. The drug, tutoring, the whatever. You've got to do an experiment, not an observational study. Are we good on that one? I probably talked that one to death. Questions or comments?